So here we are at the software side, and give you just to give you a brief overview that what we are doing here is that we want to be achieving a score of AMD Threadripper 3970X using 4 Xeon machines and one Xeon machine which is 2670V3, and four of these machines are 5670, which has the score of roughly around 13 to 1400, and one computer which is my main rig, which has the score of around 3000. So how did I came up with these number? I researched on Rebus render farm, and I went to the scores, and there I found the Threadripper 3970X. It has single CPU and 32 cores, and it has a score of 7398. So the idea is, when you do network or batch rendering, you can achieve the similar score of this or even 3990X, which is around 10,000. You just need more computers. So how do I calculate it? Like, if I calculate my main score first, like 3000 first, and I'm just going to assume the 1200 score for these computers X5670 plus 1200, 1200, 1 to 1200 plus. So if I have 4 of these computers, that would lead us to 4800, and 4800 plus 3000, that gives us 7800 score. So which is higher than this number on the Cinebench website. So I did tested this, and I did combine this score, 3000, this score and this score, and I did V-Ray and Corona render. I used V-Ray and Corona render, and I achieved, and I achieved the similar amount of render time of the Threadripper computer. So this, you can call it a small little render farm, and I have been uploading all of the videos how to set up the hardware wise the render farm. This is the software part, so you can so people who have skipped the hardware part, you can go straight to this software part. So the hardware part that I have set up, you can apply to any computers using these numbers. If you have you have the budget, go for whatever CPU build. It could be AMD, or it could be Xeon, or it can be i9 Intel. So you just need to, before you purchase the CPU, you need to go to the Rebus site and check the score over here. Like, if you want to be getting this CPU, like AMD 2950X, which is one CPU and 16 cores, 3.5 gigahertz, it has a score of 3000. So if you get all of these computers, you can combine all of them and do network rendering. So the first point is done. You have to calculate the score, like what you want to be aiming for, and then the second thing is setting up the network. A very important thing, that the computers need to be connected to each other, so there is no communication gap. Like if the computers can talk to each other, then the network job will be smoothly. So let me just open up the network. The computers need to be, all of the computers which are connected to your network, they need to show up, and maybe I will just turn them on for just to demonstrate this point. So here we are. I have just turned all of those computers, and I am using the naming convention from Dota 2. It, by the way, asks for the password, and I am going to, and I did save the password with it, so you can understand that now all of the computers, they have connectivity, like they have no trouble communicating with each other. So if they have trouble communicating with each other, you are not going to have a smooth rendering experience. So the communication between the computers is very crucial. So the next point is that assign IP to all of the computers. So if you open up your network adapter, you can see that I did assign the internet protocol, and I did assign the IP address for all of these computers, and I did assign the default gateway. The gateway is the router for the internet access, and I did upload a video showing a quick hardware setup, and I will probably be mentioning or pinning the video so that you guys can check and see how this small render farm can be very effective. And after that, you need to install the softwares like V-Ray, Corona, 3ds Max, Maya, Cinema 4D, etc. to all of those machines. And I recommend that you install the softwares and the plugins. You take your time and you install all of the plugins and all of the softwares on all of those machines, and after that you can configure the firewall for V-Ray, Corona, etc. If I go to the chaos group, you can see that V-Ray uses a TCP IP and port number. So what you want to be doing is, if your network rendering is not working, or somehow you are getting some error, that this could be the problem. If your computers are communicating correctly, you have no networking issue, then this would possibly the issue. So what you want to be doing is like going into the Windows firewall and setting up your inbound and your outbound rules, and you want to be making a new rule, and you are going to set up a port and port number, and you want to be copying this port number, copy, and this, paste it here, and allow the communication and private, and just setting up like this V-Ray CPU finish, and inbound as well. New rule, port number, next, this, allow communication, V-Ray, CPU finish. So when you like add the exception to these port numbers to your firewall, and if you are setting up the GPU build, you want to be using this port number, because the CPU port number and the GPU port numbers are both different. As I said in my previous videos, I am setting up the CPU network rendering. The same procedure can be used to build the GPU network rendering farm as well. You just need to be sure what is your GPU score. Like in these days you have RTX, so I recommend that if you have the budget, you go for the RTX, but otherwise you go for the GTX build with the CPU. And V-Ray especially is hybrid rendering. It is very, very effective and very fast. So I just want to go cheap. That's why I am using the CPU build and not the GPU builds. So the next thing you want to be doing is accessing your computers remotely. I am using Windows remote desktop connection, and you could use other tools, but this just works fine for me, so I am just going to demonstrate to you by connecting to all of those computers. As you can see that I did connect it to this computer by using the IP address. So this is this computer, which is named X. So these are the scores that of the computer that I am using. Let me just quickly connect all of these computers just to illustrate the point that I am saying, that connectivity is crucial when you're doing network rendering. So I log on to all of the computers using the remote desktop connection, and after you have done logging to all of the computers, you can register the V-Ray or Corona service as a spawner as a service, so you don't have to launch the service manually, render slave server or the Corona DR server. But I'm not going to register it because I tend to change the versions when the new update come, and I just found in my experience I found that it can be some troublesome if you want to be uninstall your previous version and it is being registered as a service. So you first have to unregister the service, and then you install the version of V-Ray, Corona or Arnold or whatever render engine that you are using in your particular software. So my suggestion is that if you have like 8 of these machines as a render farm, you can use a remote auto login, and you can use the distributed rendering service in your startup Windows folder as a startup task. So this is my primary goal for now, to achieve the seamless communication between computers, assign IPs, install all of the softwares, install all of the plugins, and configure the firewall for V-Ray, Corona, etc., and access these computers remotely so that I can log on to these computers and run the distributed service for the rendering. And by the way, I did assign TeamViewer as well on all of those computers, so if they don't connect remotely, I can connect to them using TeamViewer software as well.